Take a look at this fossilized wreckage. This isn't just a rock, it's a prehistoric medical record. In the brutal theater of deep time, bone was the only diary that mattered. As a paleopathologist like Pia Viglietti from the Field Museum would tell you, these fossils prove that the immune systems of these prehistoric creatures were absolutely unhinged. We're talking about survival levels that make modern medicine look like a child's first aid kit. Now, I know what you're thinking at 65. My back creaks like a rusty gate. But listen, every scar you carry is a trophy. When we see a T-Rex skeleton riddled with puncture wounds that actually healed, it's the ultimate "'tis but a scratch" moment. We see bone remodeling, where the healed site becomes denser and stronger than the original. It's nature's way of double-plating the armor. Sure, the fossil record is a catalog of pure terror, but it's also a testament to grit. These titans lived through infections that should have punched their clock weeks prior. Bones don't lie, though we might exaggerate our own glory days at the bar. If a 12-meter apex predator can thrive with a hole in its head, you can handle that knee pain. Then let's head to the Triassic, where dying was apparently just a suggestion. Listen, forget those flashy dinosaurs for a second. We're dropping 230 million years back into the sun-scorched mud of ancient Arizona. Meet the Phytosaur. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's just a crocodile, right? Well, not exactly. Among the many prehistoric creatures we study, this guy's got a design choice only Mother Nature could make after a few too many drinks. Nostrils sitting right on top of his head. Scientists call him the legless lizard, and believe me, he's a 12-meter armored nightmare. Here's where it gets truly wild. The bone detectives found specimens with all 4 limbs absolutely shattered. All 4, probably from some brutal turf war in the muck. For us, that's an immediate game over. But this Phytosaur, he just flips on low metabolism, basically the ultimate battery saver mode. His heart rate crawls, he isolates the infection, and boom, he bypasses the pain shock that would have flatlined a mammal in minutes. It's the ultimate dark comedy. He's like an 18-wheeler with 4 flat tires, just sitting in the gutter waiting for dinner to walk into his mouth. He's an absolute unit of patience. He teaches us a cold, hard lesson. Sometimes the best move isn't to run, it's to sit still and outlast the storm. All right, let's pivot from the swamp to the jagged, rock-strewn death trap of the Jurassic Morrison Formation. Meet Allosaurus fragilis. Among all the prehistoric creatures in this gallery, though fragilis is the biggest lie in paleontology. We're looking at Big Al, a guy whose skeleton is less of a fossil and more of a 150-million-year-old trauma ward report. Most folks will tell you about Al's 19 bone pathologies, from smashed ribs to a fused spine. But here's the insider dirt. Al wasn't just a victim of bad luck. He was a victim of gravity and physics. Research into his brain case suggests Allosaurus had the inner ear balance of a drunk toddler on stilts. He likely spent half his life face-planting off slippery Jurassic slopes. It's the butterfly effect of biology. A 2-ton apex predator didn't go down in a blaze of glory. He was taken out by a stinky toe. A microscopic infection in his foot led to starvation because he couldn't hit his 30 miles per hour sprint anymore. But then you look at Big Al II, who survived even grislier traumas. Why? The secret might be niche shifting. Instead of throwing his broken body at a massive stegosaurus, he likely swallowed his pride and started scavenging or hunting smaller, low-risk snacks. It's a mind-blowing lesson. Wisdom isn't just knowing how to fight, it's knowing when to quit the heavyweight division. The Cretaceous was basically a 66 million year factory for grit. Down in the deep, look at Prognathodon. This 12-meter sea titan had his entire upper jaw stripped away in a territorial dispute. Most would have folded, but among the most stubborn prehistoric creatures ever discovered, he just kept swimming. His skull actually remodeled, and he stayed a top-tier predator with half a face. That's just unhinged stubbornness. Then you've got the king, T-Rex. Check out Sue. Everyone talks about her size, but look at those joints. She had gout. Imagine a 7-ton monarch ruling with agonizing crystal deposits in her feet. Between Stan's healed skull punctures and Sue's arthritic misery, these legends lived in constant, throbbing pain. They weren't just predators, they were absolute units of pain management. This guy took a direct hit from a Rex, literally had a massive chunk of his brain case removed. Yet, the fossil shows the bone regenerated. He thrived with a visible skull fracture for years. Honestly, it hits me. Grit isn't about being untouchable. It's about owning your wreckage. These titans didn't wait to be perfect before getting back to work. Your cracks aren't where you failed. They're where your history was written. What about moving on to the Ice Age? 2 million years of bone-chilling cold, where the only thing tougher than the glaciers was the community. Take Smilodon fatalis, the saber-toothed cat. Among the legendary prehistoric creatures found at the La Brea tar pits, we've discovered individuals with massive hip deformities from birth. In the wild, that's a death sentence. But this absolute unit reached adulthood. Why? Because his pack shared the spoils with them. It's a game changer. The fiercest predators in history survived through social care. Then there's Nandi, a Neanderthal from the Shanidar cave. This guy was a walking medical miracle. Blind in one eye, a crushed skull, a withered arm, and a crippled leg. His teeth were worn down to the gums, likely from his tribe pre-chewing his food. Seeing this, it really hits home. We didn't survive the deep freeze because we were the strongest individuals, but because we refused to leave anyone behind. Grit is great, but belonging is what keeps the fire burning. When the great glaciers finally began to retreat 30,000 years ago, a new player stepped out of the frost: Homo sapiens. But don't let the name wise man fool you. These early humans weren't just thinkers. They were absolute survival machines, powered by community and stone-cold grit. Take a look at the fossils from Jebel Irhoud in Morocco. These early prehistoric creatures, our direct ancestors, carried skeletons that tell some gnarly stories. We're talking crushed skulls and compound fractures that, by all rights, should have been a one-way ticket to the afterlife. Yet, the bone tells a different story. They survived. Experts like Eric Trinkhaus suggest that the deep empathy we saw in Neanderthals didn't just vanish. It was hard-coded into sapiens. We find teeth worn down to the nubs, not just from tough roots, but likely from tribe members pre-chewing food for the injured. It's the original meal prep, hundreds of millennia before it was a trend. These people were going toe-to-toe with mammoths and bison, using nothing but sharpened flint and raw courage. How do you survive a brain injury in a world with zero antibiotics? They were absolute units of a different breed, proving that prehistoric life was less about being the strongest and more about being the most supported. It's honestly mind-blowing to think about. Grit evolved from huddling around a campfire to building the foundations of the modern world. We aren't just the smartest species, we're the most stubborn survivors to ever walk the earth. Looking at how we made it through the Stone Age, it makes you wonder, what was our true secret weapon? Was it the tools we chipped from rock, or the human heart that refused to let a friend fall? As we leave the Stone Age behind, the soundtrack of history shifts from the scraping of flint to the rhythmic ring of the hammer. We're entering the Bronze Age, a pivotal moment where prehistoric creatures finally gave way to a new kind of social complexity. But with better tools came a darker reality. For the first time, the greatest threat to a human wasn't a saber-toothed cat or a woolly rhino. It was other humans. Take a look at the fossils from Talheim, Germany. They tell a story that's both brutal and beautiful. Researchers from the University of Tübingen have uncovered skeletons riddled with skull fractures and broken forearms, the clear signatures of early axes and clubs. But here's the mind-blowing part. Many of these people didn't just die on the battlefield. Their bones show signs of sophisticated healing. We're talking about early versions of splints and casts that allowed shattered limbs to knit back together. It raises a fascinating mystery. Did these wounds heal faster because our ancestors were getting smarter with medicine? Or because the growing size of our villages meant there was always someone there to carry you when you couldn't walk? It's a bit of dark irony, isn't it? A T-Rex would bite its rival in a territorial dispute, and 65 million years later, sapiens were doing the same thing with bronze blades. The problem was still each other. But the difference was that now, we had an entire village dedicated to patching us up. Surviving an axe to the arm in 2000 BCE wasn't just luck. It was a testament to the fact that grit had evolved from an individual trait into a human network.
Rest now.
We survived because we became a collective armor for one another. It proves that a broken bone is just a chapter, not the end of the story, as long as you have a tribe. Looking back at those early bandages, it makes you think about your own life. We've all had moments where we couldn't stand on our own. From bronze axes to modern operating rooms, that ancient thread of resilience has never snapped. We're stepping into the present, where the grit of prehistoric creatures is literally the blueprint for our own survival. It sounds wild, but researchers at the Field Museum are finding that the incredible regeneration of dinosaurs like Edmontosaurus and the fierce immune response of T-Rex are the original source code for our medicine. By studying how these titans fought off massive infections without a single pill, we're unlocking new ways to develop antibiotics and surgical techniques. Think about Nandi, who injured a Neanderthal. His tribe's empathy wasn't just a nice gesture, it was the foundation of our entire healthcare system. It's a bit of a dark comedy, though. While the T-Rex Sue had to hunt through the agony of gout, we got to take an aspirin and relax on the sofa. We're absolute units of the modern age, but let's be real. The heavy lifting was done millions of years ago by these prehistoric creatures. The real wow moment? From prehistoric scars to modern vaccines, you are the direct descendant of the ultimate survivors. Every time your body heals a cut, you're using biological tech that's been field tested for eons. It's mind-blowing to think your recovery today was pioneered by a dinosaur 66 million years ago. Grit doesn't have an expiration date. As we look ahead, the challenges change, but that ancient blueprint remains our master key. We're moving into a future where the next scars haven't even been formed yet, but the lessons from prehistoric creatures are already there to guide us. Whether we're facing the shifting climate of our own planet or the radiation-soaked voids of deep space, our survival won't just depend on new tech, but on that same community and science we've been refining since the first fossils were formed. It's a bit of a dark comedy when you think about it. Maybe one day, an 80-year-old on Mars will break a leg in low gravity. And he'll still be an absolute unit of resilience because of the grit inherited from a Neanderthal in a cave. The real wow moment is realizing that we are the ones currently writing the next chapter of the fossil record. What story will our bones tell a million years from now? They won't just see the chaos of 2026. They'll see a species that refused to quit. Every scar you carry today is a medal of honor. It's a sign that you survived, adapted, and moved forward. So live your life in a way that makes for a legendary fossil, because your resilience is a 4 billion-year-old masterpiece in the making. So, here's the bottom line. From that phytosaur waiting out a storm with shattered legs, to Big Al's Jurassic scars and Nandi's Ice Age community, it's all the same story. It is 4 billion years of evolutionary grit, shifting from "don't die alone" to "we've got your back," These prehistoric creatures didn't just leave behind bones, they left a blueprint for survival. Next time you spot a new wrinkle in the mirror, don't sweat it. You're not just getting old, you're fossilizing your own brand of resilience. Those lines are your unhinged medals of honor, no different from the battle scars on a T-Rex. They are literal proof that you stayed in the game and won. Whether you are 6 or 65, you are a 4-billion-year-old warrior standing at the edge of the future. Who knows? Maybe 1,000,000 years from now, some fossil hunter will find our remains and wonder how we handled the chaos of 2026. If your life was a fossil record, which chapter would show your toughest, most absolute unit moment? Drop a comment and tell me where you found your steel. For our next dig, do you want to dive into ancient megastructures or go deeper into the secrets of the Neanderthals? Let me know below.